Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Welcome to Republicans Abroad Radio, the voice of Americans overseas, with your host, Cynthia Dillon.
Well, we're back again at CPAC 2014, and my co-host is Crystal Heath. She's the host of the Friddle Show on the 405 Radio Monday nights. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Cynthia.
And our guest is
Pat Monks with Conservatives Conserved about the death penalty. Pat, you want to tell us a little bit about what your organization is doing?
Yes, we're the conservative wing of trying to eliminate the death penalty in the state level throughout the United States. I myself am a board member of the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty, and I was at CPAC last year and became a part of this group because I'm the conservative part of our organization in Texas. I've served on the executive committee of the Republican Party for about 20 years, raised as a conservative in the Republican Party. We go back to the Bush days. You know, my father was one of the first precinct chairs in Harris County where George Bush was the chair. We used to meet at their house. You know, we go back a long ways. And I got in this issue now, you know, to me, I don't see this as a liberal issue at all. A friend of mine was murdered in 95, and I followed the murder all the way through the person's being sentenced to death to their sentence being commuted. And I took this road, and I come across some murdered veteran family members who had actually opposed the death penalty, and they're the ones that changed my mind. So that's where I'm at. I'm about ending the death penalty. I'm about ending the death penalty in the state of Texas and throughout the United States. I participate. My brother Steve is North Carolinians Against the Death Penalty in North Carolina. My wife's from Cincinnati, so I've been up in Ohio and worked with the Ohio's to stop executions. I've been to their state meeting, and I'm just against it on a fundamental basis.
Earlier, when we were talking before the show, you mentioned something very interesting. When I said, "Is this a religious thing?" and you said, "Keep the religion; it's procedural." So why don't you give a little explanation of what you mean by that? That it's also religious, but what is the importance?
Are you talking about?
I'm defending the.
Proceed
against the death penalty.
I got it. I understand what you're saying. The problem with the death penalty is it is a system, and in which we process people to try to, I guess, seek, I guess it's for revenge, or I'm not sure, retribution. There's different words that are used for that. Unfortunately, men and women pass procedural rules to implement this thing. In Texas, we have a rule for the future dangerousness of society. Right now, there is a case, Dwayne Buck, State of Texas versus Dwayne Buck, in which an expert testified in Harris County, in my hometown, that because he was the minorities were more likely to be aggressive and commit crimes just because of their status of being a minority, using some sort of statistics that he used. And because of that, and because he's black, he was put on death row. That case there were 6 cases very similar to it that went to the Fifth Circuit, in which John Corn, who was our Attorney General at the time, just threw in the towel. Those cases were reversed for retrial. But Dwayne Buck's, his case was pending at the time that those 6 cases were in the Fifth Circuit. He didn't get the benefit of that understanding. John Corn became United States Senator, and Greg Abbott, who is probably going to be our governor, became the Attorney General, wouldn't honor that rule. And now we're facing execution with Dwayne Buck because some expert says he's more likely to commit dangerous crimes simply because he's black. That's one of the procedural issues that I'm talking about. And as long as we have procedural rules like that, we're never going to ever make this thing. We're never going to get it to work. It's not a deterrent to crime. I guess it's a deterrent to that one person, provided they did it. And there's the Innocence Project. There's a fellow, Anthony Graves. He spent 15 years on death row, 3 waiting for a new trial. And the number one prosecutor in the state came out to prosecute him and said, this guy didn't do it, and they cut him loose. And Anthony's living in Houston, Texas now. He's an advocate against the death penalty. There's too many innocence projects. There's too many innocent cases in which it just puts a question to the whole procedure at all. And does it really, how many people does it really affect? We executed 13 people last year. That was 13 people from crimes that were committed anywhere from 10 to 20 years ago. Death penalties are being reduced substantially. And where the death penalties are used, more in any other counties in Dallas County, which is actually a Democratic county, controlled by a Democratic DA who's using it, to defend his tough on crime issue. In Ohio, the county that has the most death penalties, or they seek the death penalties, is Cuyahoga County. That's a Democratic county. So I don't see where this is a Republican flanked issue. To me, it's nonpartisan, and it's something that, because of the cost alone, I think that's what interests conservatives, to find out that it costs 10 times as much in money to get a death sentence on somebody who's sitting on death row for anywhere from 9 to 20 years than it is just to put him in for life without possibility of parole. When you talk procedurally, people say, well, that's all the appeals. And I go, no, it's just the trial itself. The cost of the trial itself is anywhere from range up to $1 million, where you can put somebody away for $20,000, $30,000 for life without possibility of parole. That's what I'm talking about on the procedural issue.
I find it very interesting what you're saying, just because I think generally speaking we don't think of being against the death penalty as a conservative issue. But you have some very valid points about the procedure and the cost, and if we're going to be fiscally conservative, that kind of thing. So is that really where your organization is looking at this from? Not so much from a moral perspective one way or another, but just the nitty-gritty of the whole thing.
Yes, it is. And we do have a religious outreach in which they deal with that issue. Sister Prejean, the death row nun, has argued that. And the way she argues it, I went to Catholic, I'm 13 years Catholic school, there are some people that are versed in the Bible and they can quote it backwards and forwards, but, I understand the argument eye for an eye, but then again, my response is always, well, haven't you heard the second coming? Jesus Christ defended somebody that was accused of a capital crime and stopped that, but he couldn't stop his own execution of a capital crime. So, yes. It seems that the liberal wing, the libertarian wing, Ron Paul has come on, signed on with this. It is all about the government being in the most personal, private issues, and it is about the cost. And ultimately, what will happen in Texas is the cost is going to drive it out. It will go out of style. If you look in Texas, you look in almost any county, there's only 7 counties prosecuting it in 254 counties. 254 counties, only 7 counties. Why 7 counties? Because, the DA is more adamant to do it. In Harris County, I'm proud to say that last year we didn't get 1 death penalty case. Not 1. Okay? In Dallas, at 3. So, I would say I'm proud of what our DA has done. And being conservative about using the death penalty instead of using it for political motives.
So how much exposure does your organization have you been getting for your organization?
It's good. It's good. Well, we've had it. I speak on a lot. Last year we had our 500th execution in Texas. That's a lot.
500 executions.
500.
That's a lot.
Is that the highest
in the nation? 7 counties?
Yeah. And since the first execution was reinstated in 82. We're at about 507 now. Yeah, Texas is way up there. Texas, and then you get, I believe it's Virginia is the next one, and then Florida, Ohio. I don't have those stats on me right now, but those seem to be and Missouri is up, and Oklahoma are big states. But we talk about big states. Texas had 13 executions last year. Ohio had 3, and they're considered to be a big state. Most states.
So you've had 500 since 82, since it was okay.
Right, since Charlie Brooks was executed in December 82.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you educate our listeners just a little bit? Is the death penalty something that's determined state by state? Is it nationally determined? How is that? Does every state have the death penalty now?
No. There's several states. As a matter of fact, I can think of the exact number. It's like 32 have the death penalty. 6 of the states have repealed it in the last 6 years. And there's a few states that are on the verge of doing it. Texas, of course, is not one of those states.
Well, you know that our overseas listeners, a lot of people overseas don't understand, especially Europeans, don't understand that the U.S. still has, there are some states that still have the death penalty. That is, the human rights issue.
Well, we deal with Houston is the third largest city with consulates, and our consulates are very active. One of the consulates, the vice consuls, has been very active with our organization because we have a British citizen that's on death row.
Oh, is that right?
That's right.
That's right. I think I may have read
and
about
she's very,
it.
and so the Prime Minister has been talking to our president, and actually talks to our governor. Is very, very active in trying to do something with this. And there's not much they can do, but Houston is a major trade hub, and they're concerned for political reasons. So, I forgot what the original question was, but it had to do with not every state. No, and the question was the United States, federal. Yeah. Well, we had a death sentence, because of Major Nadal.
Right.
Okay.
So tell us about since we have less than a minute to go to finish the segment, tell us about your, where they can find you, information, and your email.
Right. You can go to www.conservativesconcerned.org. We're out of Brooklyn, New York, and send us an email to info@conservativesconcerned.org.
Fantastic.
And we can give you all the information that you need on it.
That's right. And this is we've been speaking with Pat Monks. He's a lawyer and
I'm a board member of the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty and a member for conservatives concerned about the death penalty.
Fantastic. Well, we wish you lots of luck, and thank you so much for informing us on what's happening, and we hope that you get support.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. You're listening to Republican Talk.
Connected World Magazine is dedicated to reporting on the next generation of M2M and connected devices. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Written for the fast-paced, device-enthused individual or business, Connected World Magazine provides unique insight and analysis to all things connected. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Connected World. Living the connected life has never been easier.